helping Syria to achieve a smooth political transition and a return to peace and stability at an early date is a common expectation of the international community and should be the goal of joint efforts by all parties. I would like to make the following points. First, China supports the Syrian interim authorities in continuing to engage in extensive dialogue and communication with all parties concerned in accordance with the principles set out in Council Resolution 2254 in order to promote an inclusive political transition process. We note that the Syrian interim authorities have enacted a decree on the interim People's Assembly elections and are expected to complete parliamentary elections by mid-September. China supports Special Envoy Pedersen in playing his role in the political transition process in Syria. Second, the security situation in Syria is still fragile, with armed conflicts occurring from time to time. Just recently, recurring large-scale violence happened on the western coast of Syria and in Suwaida. A large number of innocent civilians were tragically abused and killed, which is saddening. It is the responsibility of the Syrian interim authorities to protect the legitimate rights and interests of all Syrians. Investigation reports on the violence in the western coast areas should be made public at an early date, and there should be investigation and accountability of the violent incidents in Suwaida in a transparent, credible, and responsible manner. All parties in Syria should work in the same direction to jointly maintain stability and avoid triggering a new conflict. Third, terrorist forces are increasingly active within Syria, which is worrying. There are reports that indicate that foreign terrorist fighters were major perpetrators of the violent incidents on the western coast in March and in Suwaida in July. Continued condoning of terrorists will only bring greater harm to Syria and other countries in the region. We urge the Syrian interim authorities to take strong measures to resolutely counter all Council-listed terrorist organizations, including the ETIM, also known as Turkestan Islamic Party. It must be pointed out that the purpose of the Council's sanctions on Syria is to counter the terrorist forces within Syria and to maintain peace and security in the country and the region. With regard to adjusting its sanctions regime on Syria, the Council should consider the current counterterrorism and security situation in Syria, the capacity of the Syrian interim authorities, and the possible impacts of such adjustments, among others, in a comprehensive manner, and should make judicious decisions based on a careful study in order to strictly prevent the terrorist forces in Syria from exploiting the situation and gaining strength. Fourth, UN humanitarian agencies have made great efforts to alleviate the humanitarian crisis in Syria, in particular by overcoming difficulties and actively coordinating the delivery of humanitarian supplies into Suwaida. China calls on the international community to increase its humanitarian assistance to Syria and help the Syrian people to tide over these difficult times. China is concerned about reports of attacks on humanitarian convoys in Daraa Governorate. The safety and security of humanitarian workers should be guaranteed under all circumstances. Lastly, I would like to reiterate that the sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity of Syria should be fully respected. This is a principle that must be upheld in dealing with the Syrian issue. The Israeli occupation of the Golan is completely null and void. Unauthorized foreign troops should not be stationed in the area of separation. The discharging of UNDOP's duties in accordance with its mandate given by the Council should be guaranteed. Thank you, President.